Perfect.
So, summertime in Germany?
Yeah, so we changed the clock tonight. That was the reason that now it went from 5 p.m. here to 6 p.m. And we have a dinner reservation then. So it's like that was the point to say, can we start now?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being so kind to, just a guy
Okay.
like me because I have a dead end job and fell into loving movies and, loving your cinema. I got a little thing I wanted to show you here to kind of segue and get you going because this part was inspiring me. It's from can you see that okay?
Yeah, yeah, now I
I
see
got
it. Okay.
yeah, out of the way here.
Business. It's like a dirty pieces of shit, and I never played that game. I made movies and focus on the movies, right? And that is how I operate. It's so pissing me off how fake that business is, but also how the young people of today falling in the fucking trap because they're all stupid. Like wake the fuck up. Iron Man is not existing. The Avengers are not existing. These are all fucking retarded idiots. And Robert Downey Jr. and all that people, yeah, they are idiots. And they're not idiots. They just grab the money and they're laughing their asses off. That is the most bullshit business with bullshit idiots, one after the other, lined up behind each other. They're all fucking each other in the asses, and nobody makes any decisions. All the actors ever work with, Ben Kingsley or whatever, are fucking pussies, nothing else. They are in the assholes of their managers, agents, and publicists and attorneys, and they protect them. It's so fake and absurd that I really, really wish they wouldn't get fucking wiped out.
How long ago was that?
I remembered it, but I didn't remember that it was so long and so graphic. I thought it was shorter.
I kind of, it's that kind of stuff that inspires me, and I wanted to kind of ask you about, your experience with your new film, how you feel about it, and I don't know if I can make this connection, but the lead you got,
Army Hammer.
Army Hammond, yeah, I feel like, because of us chatting about Ed Wood and my obsession there, I'm like, is you Ed and Army Bela Lugosi, in their careers right now?
No, I don't want to would move it this way, but I mean, Army is a great actor, right? So he was a big star, and then they canceled him as other people too. And so for me, it was an opportunity to get him back, like in the movie business. But he shot one Western before he shot my film, so he was already slowly coming back. And he was perfect for my part because he's this kind of like he could play a Batman kind of character, So he's very tall, very demanding, and we had to change the title now to it will be like Citizen Vigilante will be the title, And I thought maybe I get away with it, but DC and Warner wrote a letter, and then I had a conversation. And then, I mean, it's of course not worth it to fight this, right? So I felt it's better than to just change the title. But overall, when you think about Dark Knight, that should be nothing you can protect. Why you cannot name a film Dark Knight? I mean, it can be a Dark Knight, right? It could be playing in the medieval times, and so how can they just say because one Batman movie or like was or the nickname of Batman was the Dark Knight? So why? So it's you could fight it, what I think, right? But it's not worth it because for what? To spend money on attorneys and be endlessly in court. So it doesn't bring anything. And we are in I just watched the first real cut. I had like 100 notes. It's a little more complicated film as run. What is also now completely finished, and we still debating how we release it. But run is easier because it plays in one day and you follow the day, right? So you don't have so many puzzle things. But Dark Knight is in a way something more like Rampage, where you go back and forth in time and you have things that actually happening now, but you want also that the audience wants to figure out is that from what I saw before and now the lead up to this? So we're moving around, you know. So and it's a very brutal movie. It's very harsh, but I think it's also this kind of thing about John Wick or Equalizer, in of course kind of smaller but harder, you know. So Death Wish from Charles Bronson, more this direction basically. So I'm very happy that I did the film, and he was like super motivated and easy to work with, you know. So, and he was not like, he didn't had any like star like I have to do this, I have to get this, I have to get this, you know. We told him like we shot in Croatia, in Zagreb, in the main city in Croatia, and I said, look, it's not like uh, everybody needs their own driver. You know, we just jumping in the van. We were all in the same hotel, and then like, let's go and let's do it. He liked it that we're shooting with two cameras, fast, more handheld, as I do, or as I always do. You know, I don't do dolly tracks or something. It's like just we're moving and moving and moving, and yeah, and I had Olaf Ittenbach for the blood effects. So the splatter director from Germany, he was very good in Blood Rain. He did the blood effects. He did Tunnel Rats. So he's very good with this kind of, because I told him I want, even if a lot of things are gun exchanges, I want the real impact. You know, not a little script. I want a hole in this guy, like stuff like this. And that is what we shot. So I'm very excited about the film. And yeah, I mean, we will see. The market right now is in the toilet, right? So we don't really know what's going on in that film business. We had the drop at COVID, then we had the drop with the strikes, then we have the drop because now everybody recognizes that everything flops, you know. So it's a lot of less production going on in the film industry. um, and yeah, and we will see, you know, whether I don't know in what direction it goes. Netflix makes profit, everybody else loses money. So I mean, that's the thing. If we're ending up only with Netflix, I think we're done. Then we're doomed. It's like it needs this range with independent producers and also smaller streamers and still theatrical distributors. And I'm a big home video fan still with DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm always recommending the First Shift to my buddies that like that kind of cop action, and I think that's kind of part of your genius is being flexible. You know, like you talked about. You know, there's not a patent on the first night per se, but you know, you were wise to kind of be flexible and um, the biographer to Bela Lugosi told me that when he interviewed Ed, when he was doing his Lugosi stuff, that Ed would have like 4 or 5 different scripts with the same name, but they'd all be different genres. You know, this one's an action western, or you know, this one's a sci-fi, so that way he could get it sold type thing. Um, um, darn it, I'm having a brain fart. I want to segue to kind of having you discuss that, like, you know, being flexible and also, oh, I wanted to bring up whoever runs your social media, and it could be you too as well, is like always really funny on Twitter. And you had a poll, I think, about a poll about Bull, what film he should make next, like a genre of cinema he should make next. Do you remember that poll at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. And there was like RoboCop. What he had there? Like I think they had various films listed. It's Gary Otto, where I do my podcast with. He's doing the Overball podcast, Twitter, basically.
Oh,
Like,
okay. I love everything he's doing. Yeah, because just what, like, do you wake up like inspired about wanting to do this type of genre cinema next, or does like life or things happen that influence you, or is it just kind of what's available, you know, like what
no,
is oh
I, I think in today's time you have to have uh, various things in development or various things like ready to go, and you feel like, okay, is this now the big time of for this or that, right? So, for example, First Shift, I was under the clear impression that I shoot next First Shift 2 and 3 in September in New York. And it looked good with Paramount Plus that they, because it's a big hit at Paramount Plus, that they give us some money, like not a lot, like $1 million per film, like for some streaming rights. And we are used to work with not so much money. So, and then now they said they don't have the money to give it to me. So I said, sorry, but I think $1 million, if you don't have $1 million for something that works very well on your streaming thing, but then you pay whatever $1 million a day for any Taylor Sheridan show you do, like they have like 7 Taylor Sheridan shows in production parallel, and it's $1 million a day. They're spending 80 or 90 million for a season of Tulsa King, Lioness, and all that stuff. So and you feel like kind of, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I mean, normally you should answer like, are you out of your mind or whatever? That should be an absolutely no-brainer to give us some money to continue with First Shift, because I get a lot of fan mail. We were 20 weeks in the top 10 various rankings at Paramount Plus, so that should be enough to give us some money, and it did. So now we have to, because of Gino Pizzi, the leader, the actor, the lead actor, and me, we're writing the script together for 2 episodes and or 2 films, and we will continue to do it, but now it gets way harder because now the financing is totally up in the air, and you have to basically maybe approach other streamers who then will say, but why is it not Paramount Plus doing it when it was a big hit there? So, like you can, and then when you say they don't have the money, I don't think somebody would actually believe me to, when you say they don't have $1 million, they would say like, what the fuck? That's the cheapest excuse I ever heard. So now it will get tougher. We will go out this week to other streamers and ask, okay, look, that worked very well on Paramount Plus. Can we continue? We don't need a lot of money. So we will do this and we will see what the reactions are, but the initial reaction will be maybe they feel it's kind of strange, so that's the situation. So and now with this happening, I have other like projects where I feel maybe I should move them forward faster to see if I can get like, for example, in Kentucky, I'm in contact to the film commission, and they like a project from us, that Monkey Clock, like an action kind of almost film noir detective action thing, and they want to give us like the tax credit there, and with this it's like 35%. You are already one step further to kind of financing. So now I maybe have to move on other productions first to see if this works, so yeah.
Yeah, you kind of remind me. I've heard John Waters say this, that he's always like working on like multiple projects because of kind of the insanity of the artist wanting to create. And then you always have like maybe 1 or 2 really big ones, and then uh also kind of like, that's why I wanted to show you that clip that inspired me from the documentary, is the reality of like from the independent, like low level, that people are like, I want to make a movie, and then their whole life goes by, they never do it, kind of like from the Tim Burton film, I know, the Ed Wood one, there's a scene where he talks about uh darn it, having a brain fart. Orson Welles made Citizen Kane by like age 30, and I'm already 30 and over the hill and haven't made nothing. So like what kind of helped, or was it in you to realize the reality of really making a movie, and then the kind of like fakeness of you know I'm sure maybe people you've known or read about that, they're, oh, I want to make a movie, and they just never end up doing it because they don't understand all the actually going out there and doing it. Yeah, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, I think that basically two things you talk about. The one is, and I agree, there are so many people that want to make movies, and then they only talk about it, or they whatever don't get anything done. So I have also people that approach me with projects, and they say this and this and this, and then years later you meet somebody by accident, and it's just like nothing ever happened, and you feel okay. In today's time, I have to say, in the early days, you had to pay money to get a film camera, film material, a lab. That's gone. So nobody stops you in shooting a whole film on your phone or something else, and it still could be 4K. Everybody can afford a black magic. You can definitely get a camera where you can shoot a film on. So it's a cheap excuse to say I could never do it. Means also that people, like, you could never organize it properly. You could never convince some actors. You could never convince some crew to do this with you. And for me, I always stayed in contact to, like, everybody basically, in regards of go and make your own film, like don't be shy to be, oh, but this sucks, this is too cheap, this, okay, but you get better doing it. You get more experience where to put the camera. If your set looks like shit, you can get very close, and the set is only the background, and it still looks like a big office because you never showed a wide shot that it's a shit small office, stuff like this. So, and that's the thing, where you only get better making movies if you make movies. That's the first thing, and it's very easy now to do it. Then with the other thing, what I yelled about in that video, what you showed, is so many people, they're acting like they love movies, but they're only in for the money. They're only in for the glory, whatever. They will never invest on their own a dime in a film. I did that over and over again. That I reinvested money I could make on movies or whatever. And it's not like, oh, I make movies that I have a mansion in Beverly Hills and fly with a helicopter. It's no, I always gave a shit about all this. I wanted to make movies because I want to make movies. I love movies and making movies, and the what comes out financially is secondary, in a way that, yeah, we need money back to make more movies, but not like we need the money back to then buy a Bentley and retire. So that's the thing. I think that's a big difference, because I think especially in LA, a lot of people are in the movie industry because of the money. And then just when you say, look, you want to make that movie for free or for scale or minimum fee, no. So then it's like they're so excited about a project, and then when it comes to, okay, then make no money and just do it for a few weeks. Oh no, I have my quote, I have this, I have that. And that was the thing where when Attack Ben Kingsley's there in that video, was that he took the money for Blood Rain, he made $1 million, and then when it came to come to the premiere, or being like, this kind of like, okay, we had a premiere in the Chinese theater in LA, and he basically hanged up on me, not like, oh, I don't have time, like he hanged up on me after I paid him $1 million. It's not that he paid me $1 million. I paid him, he's in my film. And that's the thing where that made me very upset at that point, and I called his agent, and they said, look, guys, yes, he did Blood Rain to make money. I'm not against it. He delivered. I'm all good, but that's very unprofessional. You cannot take the money from somebody and then totally disrespect them, because then you disrespect yourself. You disrespect yourself, that you are like a fucking whore selling you out for $1 million. That's basically the proven evidence. And that you're ashamed of yourself, but you're so greedy, you go for the money. That was my reaction also with that video. And I feel like a lot of people, they're talking about how they're motivated and like inspired, whatever, in all that Oscar ceremonies, the Golden Globes, they do all that speeches. But in reality, oh, I'm lucky, I got a nomination, but I still made money on this thing. And the movie normally totally, we have that recently, everything flops. So they totally flop, and somebody else pays the price. But got good money, and I got now a nice Oscar to put on my shelf, and now we raise my price because I won the Oscar. You know, that's the thing. It's like it's a two-faced bullshit world. And then I never wanted to be part of it because that's the reason I never lived in Hollywood or something. I just cannot stand this kind of hustle thing. Yeah.
That was really, really good. A few things, yeah. It reminded me of when talking to this Lugosi biographer. He said Ed was passionate about, obsessed with Orson Welles, but that he didn't want to go into the front door of Hollywood. He wanted to go around the back door because those were like his people, the outcasts and the things like that. And it just kind of I also makes me think of what you're saying with the first shift. It's like, you can't even fork out like $1 million per se when you have a hit, because I remember seeing it on top streaming and stuff, and I was like, oh, Mr. Bull has a point here.
Yeah.
you know um but at the same time, you live and breathe it in your life that you don't want to be that Hollywood bullshit, and you really love making these movies and what you're doing. And that's what I kind of get a bit from going down this documentary road, with like learning about Ed Wood, who he truly was, versus what the Tim Burton picture and stuff showed. I know that was a very, like fantastico kind of comedy of his life. Um, but what I've discovered too is like, yeah, if you truly love cinema, and also nowadays too, because the guy who just won the Oscar for the best picture, he shoots on iPhone, so there's no more excuses, like you said, for being cheap or things like that. And so it's like, if you truly love this cinema and doing this stuff, and you're not a phony, fake sellout, that because I just like wake up and want to like continue to do this stuff, even though I'm like, because I've had opportunities to like not make a lot of money, but like, streaming or things like that. And I'm kind of like, I don't really care, as long I just enjoy making it, and as long as people maybe see it physically and whatnot. So I guess that rant is like kind of what I draw and inspire from you, and
Yeah, because
the
of
Ed
course
Woodian type stuff. Yeah.
you want that your film gets shown. You want that it gets out there and people can watch it. That's the contact with the movie business. What I have to have, otherwise, uh, what I'm doing, I can put the movie on YouTube myself and then never have a revenue, right? So the idea is, of course, to get distribution, but I did that all my career. That I used, paid the actors, got the actors, made my film, got some distribution, but that was it. So it was never like I played that game, going to the agency and management and going for dinner and lunches and whatever. And it was maybe very bad for my career that I never played it, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't go over this to have one stupid meeting after the other. I just wanted to move forward, and like, okay, the thing is, you have a script, you think, okay, who should be in that script? So now you contact the actors, agents, whatever, and say, look, can you do this? We have this amount of money. That's possible, that's not. And then you get people or not. And that is a very, let's say, this packaging of projects, that is a very bad experience. And because it's just all about the money and only about the money. And that, I think, puts a stamp on everything, because the actors, a lot of times, they're just hiding behind the system. They're acting like they're super creative, but then it turns out they tell the agent, no, he has to pay 100 grand more. I'm not doing it otherwise. Like stuff like this, they're pushing behind the curtain, that you pay more money. And what you said with Ed Wood is, he circumvented the whole. He was this kind of, in today's time, Ed Wood would be maybe a very good influencer. He would be maybe have his own YouTube channel. He would have even a bigger cult following. In the times where he worked, I think it was very, very hard. because you needed still the basic cost to have the covers this, to shoot the film on film, and to go to the lab and you cut the film and so on, you know. And I feel like but he couldn't, like, there was a mix between, they didn't respected him, the normal business, they didn't respected him, and at the same time he was also nobody who would sell out. And that is in a way similar to Orson Welles. Orson Welles is a total legend and one of the biggest filmmakers in the history, but as we all know, he got treated like shit. He was the wonder boy with Citizen Kane, and from this point on it went only downhill. You know, they financially, his films flopped. He didn't had like massive big successes. He made money what he put in his own movies as an actor, you know, like where he played stuff and made money. And he was a real filmmaker where you felt like, it's the reason I love Orson Welles. And I think it's this kind of, he was an artist and he was not this kind of uh, like, oh, I just want to be rich, you know. So it was the opposite. Like, no, I want to make films. I want to do something. I want to be on a stage. I want to do this, and that is why I totally respect him. And you had this kind of directors, I think, more in the older times as now, you know.
One person, because I love talking Orson Welles with you like we did last time. One person I kind of been learning more about, I knew of, but do you know much about Stan Brakhage or much of influence on you? Or,
No, what he did,
oh, he's kind of the original experimental guy. Um, he was kind of a heavy influence on like Lloyd Kaufman and Troma.
and now I see here what he did. He
Yeah.
was 60s, you can say, ne? Dog Star Man, Anticipation of the Night. I think I watched, when I see his face, I know that I watched something from him. But when you said the name, I was, I didn't know. Yeah. Martin Jane Woodling, Phil Solomon. Yeah.
Are there any other Orson Welles-esque type that were a big influence on you that
I mean, I mean, you read the story with when Orson Welles lived in the house in the end when he was old from oh, now it's blackout, the other director who took care of him, and then that other director, also famous director, oh God, wait, Orson Welles.
I like getting old, but it also sucks.
Oh, yeah. Peter Bogdanovich. So Peter Bogdanovich, you know, he and it was this kind of, so Peter Bogdanovich basically housed him in his house. And then in the very end now where Peter Bogdanovich died, he was also bankrupt. So it was like, you know, like you have basically this kind of legendary filmmakers, and they were both so into it that they didn't really took care of their own security, that they were like safe and had a retirement fund or anything where you feel okay, you cannot just assume you make every year hundreds thousands of dollars and when you're 70, 75, 80, so the money will just come in. That was a big misunderstanding. And especially what I think I saw long interviews with Orson Welles, and not in F for Fake, but in some like documentaries about him, where he also said like he never got his fair share of the revenues because mostly it was studio pictures, you know, and the directors at that time, they were not really getting revenues. They got paid to do the film, and then they were like, out, and there was no like, okay, Citizen Kane made in the year, maybe, I'm sure Citizen Kane kept making money, and it's still making money. Maybe not too much, but it's still making money. It's still getting licensed out, and and I bet that Orson Welles got nothing the last 50 years. When he was alive, maybe the last 20 years of his life, like the residual checks were very low, and that's a big problem.
Kind of sounds similar-esque to kind of Ed and Lugosi's relationship. The biographer I talked to worked with Lugosi Jr. and did a lot of work to kind of change his Lugosi Jr. and the mother's opinion of Ed, that he wasn't using Bella, and then that their friendship and everything was genuine. Is Lugosi, I know he's Hungarian, I believe, but is Lugosi beloved in Germany? Is he a
Yeah.
big icon there and everything?
Yes. I mean, that's the original, when you had like him, or you had Boris Karloff, or people like this who played the original Frankenstein, and like Christopher Lee, and people came later, so there were like this kind of getting then Dracula and Nosferatu and so on. I think that's yeah, he will be never forgotten in the world of cineasts, like people, they follow movies and they follow the film history. I mean, the young generation, they know Mr. Beast and you know and Logan Paul or whatever, and that was it. I mean, all of this, I felt also like, in a way, all of this will be dissolving with our generation. Then it's like gone, then nobody knows John Ford or William Wyler or whatever. They will be all forgotten. And that's the other problem in today's time, of course. You have this kind of when you see in streaming, nobody knows who makes the movies. That's the reason, like, all that directors, I would say the directors who were nominated this year for the Oscar, um, even now after the Oscars, nobody really knows them. When you go on the street and you would ask, did you know that film from this guy, or who's that guy? I don't think it will click. People will be like, I have no clue who you talk about. So that's the thing. If I ask you now, like, who did everything, everywhere, all at once? Who was that? Do you know that?
I know the title, but no.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But they won the Oscar, right? They won the Oscar. And there's two guys who were on stage. So I remember the two guys on stage, but I have no clue who they are and what the name is.
Good
Yeah.
point, because I know, Honora won, but that's only because I've kind of followed Sean Baker, because Tangerine I was a big fan of, and stuff like that. But I like to pick the brains of my coworkers that have kids, because all the kids just watch like YouTube and stuff. What's kind of the young adult or German kid like in cinema watching? Is it similar to like American Idiots or?
It's exactly the same. And sometimes people getting famous because they have gifts, or they have this kind of mini videos, TikTok videos, whatever. And then, like, for example, my young son is 11. So you have him, for example, he knows Mike Tyson. He knows Muhammad Ali. He knows Pele. He knows, like in sports, because there's so many individual videos done with like highlights. So, and the same with some actors. If you are like this kind of Clint Eastwood, like they are this kind of, where they take 10 seconds out, and then it's iconic, and then it's like getting everywhere. And then people first time like, oh, who was Gene Hackman? Now where he died, people were like, younger people too, got like this kind of little clips where he was in French Connection or something, and then you get a connection to Gene Hackman, even if you never watched a real movie with him. So that's the thing where still people are known. but overall, it's of course, now you have this new guys like where they know people, they watch and follow them, where I have no clue, like really no clue at all. And where you have, then you see, oh, that guy has like tons and tons of followers, so that's the thing. It's like where our life goes away. Now we have somebody else in this 310-6666. Everybody can come.
Oh, there he
Hello.
is. Here's my
Hi.
producer buddy, Kevin Michaels. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Sorry we had to start earlier.
Yeah, we
No
had the time
problem.
change. We had the time change in Germany this tonight, and that's the reason we had to do it at 5 p.m. because I have at 6 a dinner appointment. So so we still have like 10, 15 minutes, no problem. So yeah.
But I know, like myself too, Mr. Michael, we're big fans of yours, and I know Mr. Michaels had something he wanted to tell you here about his inspiring his career and whatnot.
Oh yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, everybody. Glad I got able to jump on. But yeah, I wanted to mention when I met you about 20 years ago, when I came to Germany, I went to the Erlangen Film Festival
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
and it was amazing because everybody said that I would see you in Germany, but just because I was going to Germany, that I would see you there, as if it was just one big room. And sure enough, you were the first person I saw, and you were incredibly encouraging. And I was just getting into making documentaries at that time, and I'd made Vampire the movie, and we showed it. It was a great festival, and you were very welcoming, and I really appreciated that. And that was really, and being a big fan, that was just wonderful. So thank you.
No problem. And you know what's funny? Like at that time, when I also started, he was House of the Dead or Alone in the Dark, whatever, I got tons and tons of festival invites. And now the last 10 years, I didn't get one festival invite. You would normally think if you get older and make more films, you would get into more festivals, or festivals would ask me, you want to come, whatever, want to show you a new film or something. Nothing. It's unbelievable. So where you really feel like, I don't know what happened in all that film festivals, was the people, they pick the films, curate the films, or pick their jury members or whatever, but I'm definitely not on the list or nothing. So that's, I think, for me, not that I was eager to go to one festival after the other, but it's still like where you feel like, why it stopped completely? Like that they did a round mail, never invite over ball again. I don't know.
Well, that was around the time I'd heard that you were a boxer, so I thought that maybe film festivals would turn into a blood sport eventually,
No,
and
I
that would
know
have been a
that
twist.
was the last wave when I boxed the critics, right? Then I had to go to, I was at Alamo in Austin, and I boxed the festival director, like stuff like this. But then I got only a few more invites, like to box people at a festival, and I said, no, I'm not doing it. That's bullshit. So, and then, but I don't think that's the reason that nobody invites me anymore. So, but it was this kind of, maybe at the earlier days they showed other movies, I don't know. And I think it's maybe also the subject matters. I did with like Assault on Wall Street or Darfur, Tunnel Rats, more realistic films, and they're maybe more, let's say, they're too hard, too genre for this kind of big film festivals, like Cannes, Berlin, all that, Toronto. For them, it's too harsh. But for the genre film festivals like the Alamo and stuff like this, or the Fantasy Fest in Montreal, it's not fantasy enough. They're too real. So I fall in between, and that's my explanation why I never got another invoice.
I think that's exactly right. I think you've sort of captured it, yeah. Because it started to get very niche when they started to do the tracks. Even the Berlinale sort of changed.
Yeah. Totally. And we tried to get in the Berlin Festival this year, Run, my film about with James Russo, Amanda Plummer, with the migrant crisis there in Italy. And it's a drama, but it's also hard. It's a like brutal in the end, like an action kind of ending. And I think that is for any art house festival or this kind of A-list festivals, it was unbearable because it was not a positive story about migration. You know, it was the bitter story about migration. And that's like, they don't want to see that. You know, they want to be like, I mean, you have everyday negative things about the migration into Europe in the news. And so now the art world, like filmmakers and whatever, they want to show the positive aspects. And they want to be more focused on the positive stories. You know, when you had like, look, this year, the Oscars, I mean, when an Israeli guy and a Palestinian guy doing a doku together, of course it gets the Oscar. You know, it's like, because it's so vogue in a way, you know, like where you feel like, okay, that has to get the Oscar because it looks like peace and harmony. There is no problem, you know, like this kind of thing, you know. And if you do a doku about the massacres in Gaza, then you're directly like, that's not okay. You know, I mean, that's not okay for this kind of film festivals because that looks like, okay, the Hamas were the perpetrators and there is no positive side of the Hamas to tell. Boom, out. You
Right.
know, that's the thing. And that's kind of crazy how I feel it, because I think, especially in feature films, not documentary films, but feature films, you should go like, you don't have to tell the reality only or the truth only or whatever, but you have to tell also things that are very, let's say, throwing you off your balance. They're throwing you off your comfort zone, and they make you discuss things maybe in a different way as if you watch just talk shows or the news. So that's the thing, you know. So in Run, the main scene I did in the film was, you have a guy who gets cornered, one of the migrants. They want to put him in an asylum camp, but he takes a kid as a hostage. So now he has the hostage. He has the kid as the hostage. Now, the Kristen Renton, the actress from First Shift, comes from behind to save the hostage and shoots the guy with a harpoon, right? But he falls onto the kid, and the kid dies. So they're both dead. Now she gets charged for manslaughter, you know, and I did it on purpose to show that's a lose-lose situation. It's like, you know, this kind of, it's not like so I showed that the migrant was cornered and that he did a panic reaction with the kid. So I don't show the migrant as a total like criminal or whatever, but that she gets charged for it brings the whole film to a total boiling point, where then the military action starts basically against this asylum camp. And, you know, but because it's this kind of, James Russo says it in the film, he says, if the guy wouldn't be there, nobody would be dead at all. That's the
Right. So
key.
it sets up a situation, which is the suspenseful part, which you're very good at, to put
Yeah.
those people, because it depends on this point of view, and it doesn't have to reflect your politics. It's a film. And
Yes, it has.
even
Yeah,
if it
but
was a documentary, it doesn't have to reflect. You could be making a statement. And
yes.
did you find that that's, I mean, what kind of a balance do you have in your work when that comes up? Because you're right, you do pay a price to these people that judge the film for a film festival or to select it.
Yeah, and nobody selected it because of Sundance said no, South by Southwest said no, because exactly about this, they don't want to go in that uncomfortable zone, you know, where they feel, oh fuck, he has a point, you know. So that's the thing. It's like when you have, I mean, in Europe we have a lot of that Islamistic people coming in from Afghanistan, whatever, and they're running amok, they're stabbing people. So, and the thing is, like, the question has not to be what can we do for them that they have more mental health. The question has to be also, and should be also allowed, why we let them in. You know, I mean, that's the thing. And I think you're not a Nazi if you ask that question after like thousands of people got stabbed. So that's the thing. It's like this kind of, okay, we have to see at one point when is our security matters. Like when I get stabbed, and then, you know, like that's the thing. And you also don't want to get armed in a city, you know, that you feel like, okay, if I don't take my gun with me, I feel, you know, because it's also totally illegal in Germany to carry a gun, just in the inner city, right? It's not like allowed. So it means like you do something illegal to just protect you just in case, you know, and then you get the problem. And that's the thing. When I developed the film, it was this kind of like feeling for me. I want to do something what shows things that are very bad for everybody, because then also, of course, the population is not pro migrants anymore. And I show in my film migrants that just want to come and have a better life and work. I show that too, right? Amanda Plummer is hiding a pregnant woman. She wants to just work. Her brother works already in the kitchen. So we show the good things, you know, but we also show the bad things. And it's this kind of like how much migration a country can do. It's also the thing, but of course we see it now with Trump, that he closed the borders, right? And I mean, sorry, but I think that's necessary right now. I mean, to maybe make a pause and then to really control migration. It's not a solution what Kamala Harris did as a vice president to let 10 million people in. That's just too much. That's insane. You know, like think about that would continue like this. What would happen in 50 years? It's over. You know, so that's the thing. And I think it's like the common sense party is missing, you know, where you really feel like, okay, guys, it cannot be either or. It cannot be now only transgender people. You know, like it cannot be somebody says I'm transgender and now I compete in women's sports. You know, because I'm not good enough as a man. So to compete in men's sports, that's all bullshit. I mean, that's the thing where I feel like this kind of, we have that discussions in Germany, that there are in the US, where you really feel like it went so off the tracks that the common sense is totally missing. Nobody has anything against transgenders. Nobody has anything against gay people. Nobody has anything about, like, as if I talk about me, against blacks or Latin America people. Nobody, right? But everybody should have something against that if you basically overdo it with everything. You know, you don't need transgender education in elementary schools, period. That's the craziness. They went into that crazy world. And that is, I'm a big Bill Mayer fan, where you know, because he's like putting it always in the perspective. And I felt also like, how can they run the Democratic Party so in the garbage container, in disconnecting from common sense? That was my problem with the whole Democratic Party in the last few years. And in Germany, we have the total shit show now, because the the AfD basically had 22%, and the Christian Democrats should join with them doing a coalition, but they said we don't do this. So now they do a coalition with the same government who was 3.5 years into running us into the ground here. And this government collapsed, and then the elections came early, and now they basically continue this politics, you know, because the smaller parties, the Social Democrats, blackmailing now the Christian Democrats into let's don't close the borders, let's everybody still come in, let's, you know, like this kind of like, and let's go deeper and deeper in depth. Like a building that just confirmed they will do $1 trillion more in debt to pay more for migration, Ukraine, military, shit like this, where you think like that should be all in our normal budget. So they want $1 trillion extra to pay it all, so, but it's like, who pays that back? Like, what's happening with the inflation? What's happening?
Right, because we have to borrow it all from China. Yeah.
At the very end, the Chinese buying all the debt from everybody.
Yeah, or foreign. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely. Somebody does pay for it eventually. And it's like you said, I mean, how do you put something in a budget when it's opposite day?
yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, and what I think when I defend Trump here, because in Germany most of the people hate Trump and hate the new government, and because they're also reading only German-speaking news, what is similar to the US. 90% of the news is negative about Trump, and of the newspapers and stuff. And I defended because I said, look, you say for 50 years, and that's in the US exactly how it is in Germany, why government swallows up so much money, why bureaucracy is so big, why are so many people working in Washington, D.C., in all that NGOs and state things, all paid by the taxpayers. So now you have the first government who questions all of this, including the defense budget, right? Saying, look, what the fuck are we doing? Like 800 billion a year for what? Like, do we really need to spend so much, or can we do all of this now with drones and all that stuff to really save money? Like to get it maybe 200 billion less expensive. And as soon as somebody's doing it, the whole world cries, "These are fascists. They want to turn over. They want to totally dissolve democracy. No more elections. No more free press. Blah, blah, blah." But totally overlooking that the free press is bashing them into the ground. Like, I don't see that the Washington Post got shut down, or the New York Times, or whatever, or NBC, ABC, like CNN. It's not that they're like getting shut off like a Hitler would do or Putin would do. They would just shut the channel off, so that's fascism. But of course it's not the case, and I don't think they want to shut down the democracy in the US. And yes, sometimes they go over the top, they do mistakes, but then you maybe can also rehire people, or you can see, okay, this project in Africa made sense. We don't want that everybody dies on Ebola, and Ebola spreads over the whole world because we couldn't contain it in a little African town. That's where you have to spend some money as Europe and North America to help, because it could have catastrophic consequences for the rest of the world if you don't do anything about it. So I think that's the idea of aid, is to help people that are in a disaster situation and starve to death, or you have to contain viruses and you have to contain this kind of situation, or you have to protect that whatever. If you're on the last elephants, because all the elephants getting killed, I think you should protect them. You should say, look, you don't have the money. We coming in and we fight against the poachers or stuff like this. That's all good spent. But when you see what happened in US aid, I think 80% of all that money was going to salaries for the people that work for the NGOs, sitting in Washington and making $350,000, saying we have to save the poor African kid, right? So, but then like they had like 2 billion, and 1.9 billion stayed in Washington or stayed at the NGO, and 100 million went into help in Africa. That's bullshit.
I know it.
Kind of reminds me of what you're saying about Hollywood. They're laughing at us, and Iron Man's not fucking real.
Yeah. Yeah, So I mean, that's really this kind of like that's also why in Germany, like the film festivals don't invite me, whatever, because I'm very outspoken about that. I don't care what people think about my opinions, because the opinion comes from research and knowledge. It's not that I just make that out of my ass what I'm saying the whole day. It's like I really read up facts, and I really try to make my own, build my own idea, my own picture about the truth. And I'm extremely like this kind of, yeah, can you take Greenland? I actually have to leave, but take Greenland, right? So, okay, I don't think America can just take Greenland and say you're now America, but we shouldn't forget that Denmark did the same 250 years ago. They just went there and said it's ours, and nobody gave a shit, because it's just a big pile of ice at that point 250 years ago. Greenland, you could not really live there. So, but what I think what JD Vance and everybody should do is they should just make a deal that they can station military there, and because it's a very important position in the north to that Russia cannot just walk over or come over on ships and entering New York City, So I think to have military stations there, to also invest then in Greenland, in the infrastructure, and tell everybody, look, if you want to be Danish and keep your Danish passport, we're going, Porter. Yeah, my son calls me out. So, that they should give a double passport option, or they say, look, it's not like you have to be now part of America and you're not Danish anymore. You cannot do that. That's total bullshit. And, and there will be like, you cannot have also like this kind of threatening each other. They're both in the NATO. Both countries are in the NATO. You cannot flip out on Putin invading Ukraine when you invade NATO. So it can be not. That's what I mean. It's like sometimes they are too like unclever how they approach things. It's too aggressive. There will be no war about Greenland. They cannot defend themselves. But you also don't want to occupy them. And every single citizen who is there right now hates you and and then they turn into a terrorist organization trying to kill every American on the ice. I mean, it's total bull. It's almost an unnecessary satire. I think they could easily station there, build other cities, and there's so much space in Greenland. It shouldn't be the big deal.
I see,
I
I see a
know.
movie idea out of this.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the when I started my career doing documentaries, they put me in with Michael Moore, and if you remember, Michael Moore had all
Yeah.
these things to say, and it was very interesting. And Morgan Spurlock, who sadly passed away, these were
Yeah.
the people. These were the first people I saw were the top documentary people, and being an independent guy was very interesting. Of course, if it was a boxing match, I probably would have. Well, maybe not Morgan Spurlock, but I'm sure Michael Moore I probably could have taken. But maybe we can get you out of retirement. Maybe that's
So I'm
for
not.
the boxing.
No, but I have to say, I liked Morgan Spurlock too, and Michael Moore too. And yes, they were not neutral documentarists, right? They were not like, like Joshua Oppenheimer or whatever, this kind of guys. But what I liked is that they were authentic, and I believed them. And I think that's the most important thing. What a lot of the media and documentary people and news reporters not are. They follow an agenda, what is like controlled by a network or controlled by an organization or controlled by money. And I totally believe these guys that they want to find out the truth like for themselves, and they know they're not going into a total neutral like a robot. They had emotions to it. The Flint, Michigan thing from Michael Moore, because he lived there, he is from there. He had totally different, even childhood knowledge about Detroit and everything and the car makers. So for me, that was the best docu about the downfall of Detroit, of the US car makers. So I think that was very very valuable, and that's also for me the best documentaries, because you need to also entertain the people. You cannot be only like this kind of narrator who brings you the facts, you know, because the facts are never the truth. I think the facts are part of the truth, but there's also something else what gives the complete picture.
Yeah, facts don't always reveal the truth. That's for sure. And these panel discussions, they would come to me, and I was talking about Ed Wood, and it
Yeah,
was after all that stuff was said and done, you know, and people like Herzog would be there, probably laughing at me.
guys, you should continue for a little, and I check out because I have to leave. I get
No
break.
problem. I'll be in touch, Mr. Bull. I really appreciate this.
Bye.
Great to see you.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you
you
so
next time.
much, by the way. Thank you. All right, Kevin, can you pause the recording?